I want to say with my whole full chest, Matt James, you are racist against black women and other women of color.
Hey guys, it's Amanda Michaela, and today I want to complain. And I'm going to do that because no one's going to check me. So this is something that's been bothering me for a cool little minute. Jaya, it's my puppy. Say hi. I just need to get it off of my chest. If you see me looking down, I have like a laundry list of notes, okay, that I've written down, some talking points that I want to cover. So let's get into it. My issue with Matt James and the Bachelor franchise. Where do I even begin with this? So let's start with the Bachelor choosing the first black male bachelor ever, like in the history of the Bachelor. When have they ever done that? We haven't, right? We haven't. During the height of the protests against police brutality targeted towards Black Americans, Bachelor franchise decides that they want to have their first Black Bachelor to appear like they care about Black lives when they really don't. Like, and that they care about the fight for racial justice and Black liberation. They don't. There's just so many things wrong with choosing Matt James as the first Black Bachelor. This man is not fully Black. He's Black and white. You guys can say what you want about it, but my opinion, if you really want to make a statement, if you really want to center the Black community and you want your focus to be on breaking barriers and having the first ever Black person in a space such as being the first Black Bachelor, it would make sense to me that you would choose someone who is monoracially Black. A lot of corporations, companies, organizations who choose Black people to be their first Black anything, and just a lot of TV shows who have Black characters or Black actors, Black personalities, they always tend to be half white. When you have someone who is not fully Black, it's like fake progress, right? When these companies, corporations, organizations pick biracial or not fully Black people to be the first Black whatever, they only choose the Black-ish people because they are more palatable to white audiences. My issue with Bachelor Nation choosing Matt James as their first Black Bachelor is that they intentionally chose someone who was only partially Black so that he would still be palatable in some way to their 75% white audience. Very performative. Like, if you wanted a first Black Bachelor, why not choose someone who's fully Black? Why is it never a dark-skinned man, you know? Why is it never just a fully Black, regular, dark-skinned, brown-skinned man? It's always someone who's light-skinned or biracial. They chose Matt James for fake diversity. Now, the first offense was already that he's not fully Black, okay? The second offense, and this is like one of the big ones, they chose someone who is not fully Black, but also white aligning. You guys, they choose the most white aligning Black man that they could find. Why? Because they wanted someone who looked Black, but still had white qualities or still adhered to white culture and had white aligning characteristics about themselves, because they wanted someone really who would appeal to their white audience. I mean, come on, do you really think that they would pick someone who's culturally Black to be at the forefront of their show for their predominantly white audience? No, they would never do that. That's the second offense. The third offense with picking Matt James is that he's conservative. Are you kidding me? His mother is an avid Donald Trump supporter. This man does not appear fully Black, is white aligning, aligns himself to white culture, has white characteristics, is a whole Republican. If you look at Matt James' Instagram, you will literally see he hangs out with no Black people. They're all white people. Bachelor Nation chose Matt James on purpose because they wanted someone who looked Black and didn't really adhere themselves with Black culture, because they wanted someone who would still appeal to their majority white audience. I will admit, before I watched any of The Bachelor, I was really excited about seeing the first Black Bachelor. I was really excited to see women of color be the women that are desired, you know, and put up on a pedestal, and the women that are sought after. I was really excited for the opportunity for everyone in the United States to see the first Black Bachelor pick someone who's a woman of color. Like, I was excited to see a woman of color for once be the standard of beauty, be the prize, you know, be the woman that's sought after among everyone else. That did not happen. Literally in the first episode, he tells Chris Harrison he feels pressure as the first Black Bachelor to pick a certain race of woman, and he doesn't want that pressure because he wants the freedom to choose. Do you guys really think that he felt pressure to pick a white woman? No! He said that because he felt pressured as the first Black Bachelor to pick a Black woman, and he knew that he did not want to pick a Black woman because he knows that he does not like Black women or women of color. So it's just like, whoa, literally the first episode, you're literally telling national television that you don't like Black women or women of color. And that was just a huge slap in the face. So I'm just like, what's the point of you being the first Black Bachelor if you're already, before even seeing the women, excluding the Black women and women of color because you already know going into this that you want a white woman? I was already like, yeah, this is going to be some mess. And I already knew from that point on he was going to pick a white woman, and I was right. Of course. He literally said that he feels pressured to pick a Black woman or woman of color. Like it's so bad, like it's a punishment, like he can't stand the thought of it. Like, why do you not feel pressure to pick a white woman if you're half white? No. Because that's what you want. You don't feel pressure to pick a white woman even though you're half white because that's what you're seeking out. That's what you desire. You only feel pressured for a Black to pick a Black woman or woman of color because you don't want that. You don't want to feel pressure to pick something that you don't want. So if you look at the women that they chose as contestants, you had like half white women and half women of color. And women of color, that's not a race. Women of color includes multiple races. So when you really look at it, you know, it was majority white women. Like if you compare white women to Black women, it was majority white. If you compare white women to Asian women, majority white. Compare white women to Hispanic women, it was majority white. So they chose, even though they had a good mix of women of color, you know, it would have been nice to see women of color in each racial group in larger numbers, as opposed to we'll have this slightly larger group of women of color, but not enough representation for each racial group. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the colorism, shall we? So of the Black women that they chose, I want to say that only 2 of them were monoracially Black, like fully Black, fully visibly, unmistakably Black, were not mixed with anything. And they got sent home rather early. The rest of the Black women were all biracial. You know, 2 of them actually made it to the top 3, I want to say. But it's just like, of course they did, because they're biracial. Bree is Black and Persian, Michelle is Black and white. So it's like, of course they made it to the top. And that's no shade to them. They're beautiful, amazing women. I'm just saying, of course they made it to the top 3 because they're biracial and they're more palatable to the white audience. Because they're like, oh, they might be slightly Black, but at least they're not fully Black. So I identify with them more. A white audience does not identify with monoracially, unambiguously Black women. So it's just not lost on me that the majority of the Black women were biracial or racially ambiguous. So yeah, that's like strike number 5 for me. It's just like, where are the regular Black women? Why is it that whenever organizations are trying, or franchises are trying to be fake diverse and fake care about Black lives, they only center biracial people? When do we ever see monoracially Black people at the forefront? We don't. Of course, Kayla and Lauren, you know, they got sent home way earlier than the biracial women did, than the biracial Black women did, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think they got sent home early because Matt does not like Black women. The Bachelor watchers, the viewers, they don't want to see Black women being chosen. They don't want to see Black women being praised, desired, or sought after because they don't identify with them. If you watch the show all the way through, you will quickly realize none of the Black women got one-on-one dates except biracial Black women, which of course, like I said earlier, of course, they're the ones who get some sort of attention or some sort of lead on the show with the one-on-one dates because they're more palatable since they're not monoracially Black. And even then, when they did get the one-on-one dates, they got the whack outside dates where they're like fighting each other or rolling around in dirt or just doing something that's not fun. But then you look at the women that Matt was more into, you know, the white girls like Rachel and Kit. Rachel got a fun shopping spree date where she got to buy freaking Christian Louboutin shoes and all these clothes or whatever. She got an amazing inside date where she was made to feel like a queen, and she, you know, she got special treatment essentially. And even Kit, she didn't get a shopping spree, but still Matt knew that cooking was something that she really liked and that she enjoyed cooking with her mom. So for their one-on-one date, he literally set up something where they're inside cooking a meal together because he knows that she likes to cook. So it's like, we see him giving these white women dates that are tailored to them, dates that he really put thought into, and dates that connect with who they are as people, or dates that will really make them feel special in some way. Meanwhile, the black women get dates where they're outside rolling around in dirt, getting injured, or what have you. And I have to ask Matt James, and I have to ask The Bachelor, why is it that the black women get the crappy outside, low budget, no thought dates, and the white women get the intimate dates that have more thought put into them? Well, I know the answer if he doesn't like black women, but you know, hypothetical question. Okay, now remember how I said that Rachel and Kit got the nice planned out intimate dates? If you notice on the show, if you watch, there are like 3 women that it appears that he seems to be most interested in, which would be Kit, Sarah, and Rachel. What do these women have in common, right? They're all white. They're all white, basic white girls who look like any other white, basic white girl. If you were to step outside and look at a group of white, basic white girls, they all look like that. But 2, I realized none of them have thriving careers, right? None of them really have anything going for themselves. I think on the show it said that Rachel was a graphic designer, but I read somewhere that Rachel actually was not employed before the show. So feel free to fact check me if I'm wrong. All of the women that he's most into are white and have nothing going for themselves. And they're the ones who get praised, right? They're the ones who probably would have made it if they didn't leave. Like, honestly, Sarah and Kit both left on their own because they didn't want to be on the show or they didn't see themselves with him. And then Rachel just won. But it's just like, you know, the women who had the strongest chance are white women who have nothing going for themselves. But the women who are not white and have thriving careers are the ones who are shown no compassion and get eliminated the quickest. Look at Lauren. She was a whole attorney. She's gorgeous, she's beautiful, she's articulate, she's eloquent, thriving career, a lot of things going for her, gets eliminated. Even when we look at the top 3, I think, Bree, you know, she had a cool, thriving career at Facebook that she gave up for Matt. I don't know why she did that, but he shows her the least compassion out of the top 3 women. And it's just like, why are you intimidated by non-white women who have things going for them, who have careers going for them? And also, let's talk about how non-white women, women of color, we're not given the grace to do nothing with our lives. If I were to not have a job and I'm just floating through life doing nothing, riding off of other people's coattails, then people would look at me like a bum. They would look at me like I don't have my life together. They'd look at me like a gold digger, all of that. But for whatever reason, white women get the grace and the space to do nothing at all. They get the grace and the space to do nothing on their own, to not work hard, to have nothing going for them, no career going for them, and they still get the best treatment and get all the praise. And I'm tired of seeing it. When you see it on television, when you literally see these white women who do nothing for themselves, who have nothing going for themselves at all, and are very basic but still get the most praise and are the most desired by Matt, it reinforces the idea that white women who do nothing are the objects of desirability and that they don't have to do anything to get everything. This is just my theory. If you take a gander through his Instagram, he lives a very frat bro lifestyle. And so Matt just seems like a white frat bro who's just skating through life and doesn't really take anything seriously, honestly. And so I think that he's threatened by women who have things going for them, right? Because they don't have time for that. When you have a career, when you have things going for yourself, if you have a business or just anything that you take seriously that you have going for yourself, you know, you don't have time to be going to random parties and random events or whatever, just acting goofy all the time. And you don't have time for childish antics. And I think that he was looking for a white woman because he doesn't like black women, obviously. And I also think he was looking for a woman who didn't really have much going for herself, right? Because if she has nothing going for herself and nothing to tend to, then yeah, she has time to follow you around while you engage in these little childish college antics. It's just kind of not fair to me that women who work the hardest get the least, and women who do absolutely nothing get everything. I mean, look at Matt and Rachel now. She had no career before this, and now she has like almost 700,000 followers on Instagram, and she gets to be an Instagram influencer and just have an easy life and get sponsorships and free things sent to her and have a thriving influencer career, all for nothing, all for doing literally nothing, literally nothing. Meanwhile, if you look at any of the other women of color, they have significantly less followers than Rachel Kirkconnell, whatever her last name is. I think Brie might have like 250,000 followers or something like that. But you know, it's like not on the same scale. Women who actually brought things to the table, they don't get all these followers on Instagram. They don't get to be influencers and have everything handed to them and not ever have to work a real job for doing absolutely nothing. It's not fair. We already knew that he was going to pick a white woman, but it's just like, out of all the white women you could have chosen, you choose the racist. You choose, like, do you guys understand how crazy that is? It's like, there were so many non-problematic white women that he could have chosen, like Abigail, loved her. And he chose the racist white woman, of course. Of course he did. I'm pretty sure, I think in the first episode, Rachel told Matt that she doesn't see color, which if a white person says they don't see color, it means they don't see your black identity as valid. He didn't see anything wrong with it. He didn't think, that might be kind of weird. She might be racist. And of course, because he's a white aligning, conservative, Republican, half white man, he chooses the racist white girl. So he chooses the racist, and I'm sure you guys have seen, but it came out that Rachel Kirkconnell had like a racist past, and that she attended in college some antebellum South slavery plantation party where they literally dressed up in antebellum South dresses. On the reunion show, they bring on Rachel Kirkconnell, and Emmanuel Acho asked her specifically, what have you done to facilitate your anti-racism learning and to, advance your commitment to anti-racism? Rachel literally responds with, I could sit here and list all the TV shows, all the documentaries I've watched, and all the movies I've watched, and all the books I've read, but what's really important is doing the work. And then ends it there. And then this man, Emmanuel Acho, literally just lets it ride. Are you kidding me? First of all, if Rachel was really committed to anti-racism, she would have said the books. What books did you read, sis? What documentaries did you watch? Oh, all right. Like, I bet you if Emmanuel asked her, well, tell me what books did you read, she couldn't list a single one. I bet you she couldn't list a single documentary, a single movie, or a single podcast, because it's all performative. She does not care about anti-racism. She does not care about Black lives. She says she doesn't see color. She doesn't see blackness. So how could she be committed to anti-racism and actually care about reading, about educating herself about anti-racism and spreading that knowledge if she doesn't see blackness as valid? It doesn't make any sense. And it irritates me that they didn't probe her further. Again, Black women and women of color are never extended that same grace to mess up and make mistakes. If we make mistakes, we are crucified. We have to work 10 times as hard to prove ourselves again, just to get an ounce of forgiveness, just to get an ounce of redemption. Meanwhile, people like Rachel and other basic white women who have nothing going for them can mess up big time. It doesn't matter what they do. And there are people always rallying behind them, ready to forgive them, when they haven't even done anything actionable to redeem themselves. So the fact that you're sitting here saying, I could tell you the books I've read, but what's important is doing the work, shows me that you don't really care about anti-racism and that you're not doing the work. People always say you have to do the work, but then never talk about what the work is. Ask Rachel what the work is, and I bet she wouldn't be able to tell you. It just disappoints me that Rachel was looking to date a half Black man with no commitment to anti-racism and no commitment to learning about the Black plight, learning about the Black community, learning about social justice, or racial justice, none of that. And Matt was gonna take that. And what bothers me more about Matt is that he was going to accept that. And why was he going to accept it? Because he does not align with the Black community. He is not culturally Black. He does not align with Black culture. So he does not care about someone who sees his Blackness as valid. He does not care about someone who commits themselves to anti-racism education, because he doesn't care about anti-racism, or he doesn't care about a woman being actively anti-racist, because to him, he's just a white man with a tan. And that bothers me even further because, once again, this is a horrible Bachelor pick. Instead of picking someone who is culturally Black, who sees Black women and women of color as beautiful and desirable and praiseworthy, they pick a man who aligns himself with white culture, who does not care about Blackness, who they know is going to pick a basic white girl to reinforce to their white audience that whiteness is still highly sought after. Whiteness is still what's the most desired to men, to reinforce that to their white female audience. If you look at that interview, you can tell Rachel doesn't care. Like, she looks so apathetic, and honestly, she looks annoyed when being asked these questions about her racist past. They pick the least culturally Black person that they can find so that they can fake like they're being diverse, and they can fake like they care about diversity and inclusion and Black Lives Matter, while still having someone who will reinforce these white beauty standards and these white ideals to their white audience. And then, of course, they get back together. Rachel and Matt get back together. Matt literally sat there on the reunion show and told Rachel, it became clear to me that you don't understand what it means for me to be a Black man in America, and because of that, we cannot be together. Said that with his whole chest. But what did I say earlier, guys? I said Matt is culturally white and white aligning, and therefore he does not actually care about someone who sees his Blackness as valid and understands what it means for him to be Black. Because if he really cared about his partner seeing him as a Black man, Rachel would have been cut when she said, I don't see color. But she said that in the first episode and literally won the show. So obviously he didn't really care. And obviously him saying that he couldn't be with Rachel publicly on the reunion show was just a performative thing for him to pretend like he cared about racism when he doesn't. He doesn't care about racism. He doesn't care about anti-racism, and he does not care about Black liberation, but he just wanted it to look like that on national television so he could get some good press. That's literally all it is. Once everything died down a little bit, that's when his true colors show, and that's when he got back together with his racist girlfriend. And now, once again, Bachelor's white female audience is satisfied because their white racist queen won the show and won the man in the end. And now this basic white girl who had absolutely nothing going for her whatsoever now gets to have this awesome influencer life where she'll never have to get a real job because she'll get sponsorships, she'll get free things sent to her, and she'll get to live with Matt, I'm guessing, for free. So it's like the girl who deserves it the least, who had nothing going for her and is literally racist, gets followers and sponsorships and money and an influencer career, all for doing absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, the women of color who work really hard, the women who were attorneys, pharmacists, managers, they're the ones who get the least amount of followers on Instagram. They don't get to have this luxurious life despite having to work hard. They have to go back to work. By having this Black man on national television choose this basic white girl out of all the beautiful women of color on the show, it just, again, reinforces the white beauty standard. It reinforces that whiteness is highly desired. Whiteness is the most desired. Whiteness is the most sought after. Whiteness is beautiful and color is not. By picking a blackish appearing person who is white aligning, only has white friends, only surrounds themselves with their white friends and family, who is culturally white, who desires white women, it just reinforces the idea that whiteness is the beauty standard. And that's my issue with Matt James, and that is my issue with Bachelor Nation. It is shameful that for the first Black Bachelor during the height of Black Lives Matter protests, that they do not pick a Black Bachelor who cares about Black lives. The Bachelor and Matt James are racist against Black women and women of color because they collectively use them for the optics of fake diversity without really respecting them, honoring them, or valuing them. All the Black women got the trash dates. The 3 women that Matt liked the most were, of course, white. The white women were shown the most attention and the most compassion, and they only showed women of color on that show for screen time and optics, even though most of the women of color were eliminated the soonest and got the least time with Matt. Got the least time with Matt because he didn't really like them and wasn't really into them because he doesn't like Black women or women of color, yet they still get screen time on the TV show because they want to appear like they care about diversity. Cut it. If they ever choose another Black Bachelor again, I will not be watching because I refuse to watch a show where it's reinforced that I'm not beautiful because I'm not white. I refuse to subject myself to a show where a man who looks like he comes from my culture racially, I refuse to actively watch him pick people that don't look like him because of self-hatred. I refuse to have it reinforced from watching this in my head that I'm the least desirable and that I deserve trash dates and disrespect because I'm not a basic white girl. Not me, babes, not me. So yeah, guys, I mean, whew. I wanted to complain today and I got to complain. I got to get that out the way. So if you like this video, please like for the YouTube algorithm, comment, and subscribe. And until later, guys, Amanda Michaela.